coronavirus has changed all of our lives, but how will it impact our future? Does this change everything? I am Nikola Simic. On this podcast, we discuss how coronavirus will affect our daily lives and the way we do business in the future. Today we're talking to Aris Pofantis, lead engineer in the European Investment Bank's Digitalisation and Small Businesses division, about how it will impact that sector. So Aris, how will this crisis affect the pace of digitalization among small businesses? Does this change everything?
Digitalization goes across all types of sectors and all types of activities. And it is everywhere. Over the last years, we have been seeing digital transformation in different degrees to all the areas and all sectors. And the coronavirus is not going to change this, but it could have a dual effect in our view and in different sectors. On one hand, we feel that it will most likely accelerate adoption. For example, in certain more traditional areas where the general public are more hesitant to use solutions, or where industrial remote applications see more advantages. But at the same time, the problem is that this crisis may and most likely will delay the investment needed to develop digital solutions or to push digital transformation projects.
But small businesses are also often called the lifeblood of the European economy. They represent 99% of all businesses in the EU, but they also often rely on people coming through the door. What do you think? Will some of them become digital as a result of the crisis?
Now, the digitalization for an SME also has to be in the context of what is the service that they're offering. Some services are completely physical and need this interaction. Some services can become can be offered remotely and through digital channels. I think that we will see both. Probably during the crisis, there is going to be a higher use of more digital channels. Also, users and customers are going to be more accepting these solutions and more ready to adopt them. After the crisis, the digital seed will have been planted. Things that the consumer sees that are viable and useful are going to continue. Things that were only out of necessity will maybe scale down a little bit.
So you think the crisis will push some small businesses to become digital, at least those that can?
Yes, I mean, it is an opportunity. It is an opportunity for everybody, and opportunities are going to be explored more and more. What can we be doing that we were not? Is there something that we could be, different ways that we can be offering our product than we haven't thought of? But again, it will depend a little bit on what do you have and what do you need. I mean, a big part of digitalization is a little bit on the back end. It means digitalizing or connecting your supply chain, even for an SME, making everything a little bit more automated, your inventories and things like that. This is not necessarily something that depends on the crisis. So the back end is not something that I don't see a direct relation on how the crisis is going to be pushing this part. This should be the follow-up of the normal trend of digitalization across the different sectors. The crisis will more have an impact on the front-facing interactions, and where there is an opportunity, companies will have to exploit it. Otherwise, things will not dramatically change. If you're not exposed, some people are more at ease using traditional ways. So here it's where the crisis can help the adoption, because if you're forced to use some solutions that you disregarded before, then you can be more open afterwards. Some of them, as I said, can be a little bit pushed by the crisis. Some of them are pushed by the need of increasing the efficiency of your work. which I think is the biggest part. The biggest part of digitalization is actually increasing the efficiency of what you do and how you do it. It's not on so much on how you deliver it.
So you think we can look at it as an opportunity as well?
There are going to be opportunities, and there are going to be opportunities, let's say, enhanced in this crisis. Whether this will be sustained afterwards, it will depend also on how good and efficient these solutions were, and if they're seen just as a measure of emergency or as a valid option. I think, as I said before, the seed will have been planted, so more and more of these solutions will come in place. Maybe we'll have a little bit of a reduction of their use just after the crisis, because people will be eager to go out and do their things as before. But I think eventually they will grow because they will have become known to people.
And customers, do you think we will change our habits? Will we become more reliant on digital services?
I think that it will, let's say if you have, if it has increased by 5-fold or 10-fold from before, maybe it will not stay at these levels, but I think that once people have seen the opportunities, it will grow for sure. So will not be exclusive, but it will definitely grow. People will have seen the benefits of, let's say, this click and collect, or the groceries, as you say, things that I don't want to go necessarily to pick up the best fruit or the best vegetable. I can buy all the bulk items online and have them delivered or have them collected. And I think that, again, this is driven by efficiency gains for both sides.
Okay, so at this point, it's quite clear that the small businesses will suffer from this crisis. So what can DIB do to help them?
If I start, for instance, with existing customers, one could say maybe we could, for instance, extend implementation periods to accommodate the shifting of priorities of people of companies that they want to digitalize, but they cannot spend exactly all the money now, so they will need another year. Or we could, for instance, for digital investments, extend and finance more than the 50% that we are that it's now in our statutes, and go up to 75% of investments. Or, especially when it comes to SMEs, we can temporarily increase working capital needs of SMEs. Or we can, blending with other instruments. What I think is more important now for SMEs is subsidy type of assistance from states or European subsidies and things like that. But blending this type of assistance with some lending that we can do for a bit longer term development. I mentioned before sovereigns and state investment. Why is that important? It's important because it mobilizes the smaller players. So if we support the digitalization transformation investments of, let's say, a municipality, a government, or something like that, that means that there's going to be more work for smaller or bigger players. We will have a role to play. I know that there is huge discussions now on what are the optimum solutions, but I can compare a little bit with the crisis before. Although the needs were different, back then, for instance, we were asked and we stepped up our investment, and we went out and we forged some very strong relationships with companies that would not have considered us as their primary, let's say, financing partner. But because we were out, helping them where other banks wouldn't, then relationships were forged. Now it's a little bit the same thing. The needs are maybe different. So, as we say, maybe the biggest priority is SMEs. That's why the focus is put there. At the same time, we should not lose sight that we should take care also of our more usual customers, because the relationships that we forged before, we shouldn't break them and lose them.
And what can we do as regular citizens to help our local small businesses?
It would be, it would be a pity to have small companies being disappearing because Amazon can deliver. The answer is support as much as we have to support as much as we can, and in the context that we can, not only in the crisis, maybe it's accentuated in the crisis, but it goes in our behavior across, on how willing we are to support the local businessman, the local service, and things like that. If we start from there, then maybe we see more the value of it now in the crisis, because we have, all of us, we know people that are affected. So maybe it becomes more important now to understand and to contribute.
Thank you, Aris.
You're very welcome.
We talked to Aris Pofantis, the lead engineer at European Investment Bank's Digitalisation and Small Businesses division. And this is Does This Change Everything? From the European Investment Bank.